Imagine this. You've got a publicly listed company, right? And they just completely pivot, betting pretty much everything on Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's MetaPlanet for you. A Japanese firm ditching the hotel biz to become, what did they call it, a Bitcoin finance company?
Exactly. Sounds pretty wild. So today we're doing a deep dive into them.
We are, and we've got some detailed analysis to work with ratings on 10 different business areas, plus a look at their stock price potential.
Right. So our mission here is to really get under the hood, understand why they're doing this all-in Bitcoin thing,
Uh-huh. Figure out the strengths, the weaknesses based on this analysis we have.
and see, how plausible are these big growth targets? Like, could the stock really triple or even go up tenfold in the next decade?
It's a big question.
Yeah.
And they're serious about it, holding around, what, 7,800 Bitcoin as of May 2025?
Yeah, and aiming for over 10,000. That's not messing around.
Definitely not.
Okay, let's start unpacking this. First up, stable profit growth. The rating here is only 40 out of 100, which is interesting because, well, fiscal 2024 looked amazing on paper.
It did. Revenue shot up over 300%. They went from losing money to making an operating profit, 350 million yen.
And nearly 6.4 billion yen net profit. Sounds fantastic.
It sounds great. But here's the kicker. The vast majority of that profit, like 5.5 billion yen, wasn't from selling stuff or services. It was just the value of their Bitcoin going up.
Ah, okay. So valuation gains, not operational success.
Precisely. It wasn't, more people staying in their hotels or anything like that.
Right, and that reliance, that dependency really bites them in the first quarter of fiscal 2025, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Big operating loss then, almost 6.9 billion yen down. Wow. Bitcoin's price dropped.
So it just highlights the volatility.
Totally. The analysis basically says their profits swing wildly with Bitcoin prices. There's no steady cash flow coming in from like a core business anymore. Those 2024 numbers were nice, but very conditional.
Makes sense. Okay, what about competitive advantage? Or, some unique tech. They scored even lower here, 30 out of 100.
Yeah, I mean, they are kind of a pioneer in a way. A public company in Asia going this big into Bitcoin.
Being a large holder, yeah. Gives them some visibility.
It does. But the core point in the analysis is they don't really have unique tech or patents. Holding Bitcoin, well, any company can technically do that. It's not hard.
And they get compared to MicroStrategy a lot. But MicroStrategy holding, 226,000 Bitcoin? They started as a software company. They have that history.
Exactly. A whole different background. So MetaPlanet gets called the Japanese MicroStrategy. And yeah, their Bitcoin bet is aggressive. It gives them a niche.
But it's more an unconventional investment attitude, as the analysis puts it.
Right, not a deep, defensible business moat. And let's be real, their holdings are still way smaller than the big players like MicroStrategy.
Okay, let's shift gears to management. This is a much better score, 85 out of 100, competent management.
Yeah, the analysis gives them credit here. It points to the CEO, Simon Yarovich, making that big call in April 2024, Bitcoin is central now.
And they didn't just talk about it, they acted fast, raising capital, issuing shares, those zero-interest bonds.
Very decisive. And that plan raised about 116 billion yen to get over 10,000 Bitcoin. That shows real ambition. They have a clear target.
And they're buying. They picked up another 1,000 BTC just in May 2025. The analysis also mentions they're looking at the U.S., maybe a subsidiary.
And it praises their responsiveness, their ability to execute quickly.
So they seem quite nimble.
Yeah, and what's interesting is how they decide when to buy Bitcoin. The analysis says they're adapting based on monetary policy, the market environment. It's not random buying.
That sounds pretty strategic.
It suggests they're really thinking about the timing and the broader context.
Which links nicely to the next point, adaptability to market changes. A huge score here, 90 out of 100.
Well, yeah. They basically dropped their old business, selling off hotels, keeping just one in Tokyo. That's adapting.
That's a massive adaptation. Adopting that Bitcoin first, even Bitcoin only policy for managing funds, specifically to fight the weak yen.
It's incredibly bold.
Yeah.
They're essentially saying Bitcoin is our best bet against currency depreciation.
And using those stock rates and bonds for funding seems like a whole new way of operating for them.
It really is. The analysis acknowledges the risk, of course, going all in like this. But you can't deny the speed and decisiveness of the shift. Pretty impressive, transformation-wise.
Okay, now financial stability. This one's more mixed, 55 out of 100.
Right. So on one hand, their shareholders' equity ratio looked good at the end of 2024, over 62%. And they have substantial assets.
Sounds solid.
It provides a buffer, yeah. But the analysis points out the debt is climbing. All those shares and bonds they're issuing to buy Bitcoin, that adds up.
Like those 94 million shares in May 25 just to pay off bonds and buy more Bitcoin?
Exactly. It shows they're relying on raising capital, not generating cash from operations, to fuel this strategy.
And we saw what happened in Q1 25 with the operating loss when Bitcoin dipped.
Yeah, it ties directly back to that. Their financial health is directly linked to crypto prices. So the balance sheet looks okay now, but the crypto risk and the leverage they're taking on create, instability.
Okay. How about continuous innovation? Scored 50 out of 100.
Well, their main business now is investing, financial management consulting, so maybe not innovation in the traditional product sense.
Right, no new gadgets coming out.
But the analysis does highlight their Bitcoin treasury business model as unique, trying to maximize BTC per share, offering consulting using Bitcoin as a reserve asset.
So the model is innovative, especially in Japan, perhaps.
You could say that. The management policy is definitely new for them, but the core idea of holding Bitcoin as a treasury asset, well, it's easy for others to copy.
So not a sustainable innovation advantage, low barrier to entry.
Pretty much. Interesting idea, but not easily defendable long term.
Got it. Customer satisfaction and loyalty rated quite low at 40, which I guess makes sense. The hotel business is tiny now.
Yeah, only one hotel left. So who are their customers? It's really shifted toward shareholders and investors now.
And they're trying to engage them, right? Like that Bitcoin lottery thing, giving away 30 million yen worth.
Uh-huh. It's certainly proactive investor relations, but the analysis suggests it's more about maybe boosting short-term stock interest than building deep, long-term value loyalty.
It's not like building loyalty to a brand or a product you use every day.
Exactly. It's a completely different dynamic. Doesn't really fit the traditional customer satisfaction mold.
Okay, ethical business practices scored well, 80 out of 100.
Yeah, the report didn't find any red flags, no scandals, no legal issues reported. Governance seems okay.
And they seem pretty transparent, communicating their plans for Bitcoin buys, shareholder perks.
They do. Lots of press releases, filings.
Yeah.
No signs of shady dealings in what's been disclosed. They're using standard market transactions, capital increases.
Although the analysis does mention the general concerns around Bitcoin, like money laundering risks.
True. That comes with the territory. But critically, it notes no specific criticism from Japanese financial regulators towards MetaPlanet, and the company seems to be focused on compliance.
Which is important in this space.
Very important. Showing they're playing by the rules is key.
And that ties into effective communication with investors, another high score, 85 out of 100.
Seems like they're really putting information out there. Financial results, capital raises, Bitcoin buys, it's all disclosed pretty actively.
They even detailed things like the annualized yield on their Bitcoin in the Q1 25 results. That's quite specific.
It is. And they're upfront about the shareholder benefits, the bond strategies. Investors seem to be paying attention to. Lots of chatter online.
So the message is getting out.
Yeah. Now, whether everyone fully grasps the risks and the full value proposition to this new model, that might take time, but they are communicating.
Okay, last category before the big stock question. Securing and developing talented personnel. Only 50 out of 100 here.
This makes sense, too. They've pivoted hard.
Yeah.
They likely need a whole different skill set now. Crypto expertise, IT knowledge, finance people familiar with digital assets, less hotel management.
So a big shift in HR needs. Probably quite urgent.
Absolutely. And with all the fundraising, the organization might be growing fast. The analysis raises a flag. Is the structure, the HR development keeping up? There's not much public info on this.
A potential growing pain for such a rapid transformation.
Could be. Building the right team quickly for such a specialized new strategy is a real challenge.
All right, let's get to the crystal ball question. The stock price tripling, or even a tenfold increase. The analysis puts the probability of a triple bagger in 10 years at 20–30%.
Which isn't massive odds, honestly.
And less than 5% chance for a 10 bagger. That seems really low for such a high-profile bet.
Well, the analysis connects it tightly to Bitcoin's price, just like MicroStrategy. To get that triple, you'd likely need Bitcoin to really surge, and MetaPlanet has to hit that 10,000 BTC target by maybe end of 2025.
And even then, more share issues could water down the gains per share, right?
Exactly. Dilution is a key risk factor. Plus, some of this expectation might already be baked into the current price.
And the 10-bagger. That's a huge leap. Market cap over yen 1 trillion.
Without splits or more capital. Yeah, that's an incredibly high bar. As the analysis points out, even MicroStrategy, with its massive holdings, hasn't managed a tenfold stock increase.
So possible, but highly improbable, based on this assessment.
Extremely improbable. The key things to watch, according to the analysis, are Bitcoin's price action, obviously, how much more funding they need, and the resulting dilution.
How they stack up against competitors like MicroStrategy.
And just the sheer length of that 10-year time frame, so much can change regulations, technology, market sentiment.
Okay, so wrapping it all up, MetaPlanet. Definitely a fascinating case study. Bold move into Bitcoin, decisive management, very adaptable.
But profitability is totally tied to Bitcoin's roller coaster. No real competitive moat beyond the bet itself. Financially okay for now, but carrying significant crypto risk.
And those huge stock gains. A long shot, heavily dependent on Bitcoin's future success and navigating those funding hurdles.
That's the gist of it. High risk, potential for high reward, but the odds are long and the ride will likely be bumpy.
So here's a thought to leave you with. With this Bitcoin-first strategy, is MetaPlanet's success ultimately going to be about their smart financial moves and market timing? Or does it fundamentally rely on Bitcoin itself becoming massively adopted and valuable long-term?
And what completely unforeseen curveballs, technological, regulatory, geopolitical, could pop up in the next 10 years and just totally change the game for them, for better or worse.